preface everything of what I'm about to say that I'm not a graphic designer. What I am sharing is stuff that actually shows that anyone can make pretty good designs for your church, and they will be going through various different styles, types and forms. So I'll just share my screen and there we go. Right, is that, there we go, I think. As Carl says, if you've got any questions, please do write them in the chat box and we'll go through them at the end. So I'm going to share some digital resources, resources and tools and sites for creating content for your church. So hello, I'm Hannah. I am based in Plymouth. I am not a designer. My day job is I work for an organisation called Transforming Plymouth Together, and my boss is actually in the chat today, so I have to be careful what I say. But my sort of passion and how I link it all up together is through digital mission and sharing the amazing work that churches are doing online. As again, Carl's mentioned about the digital Christmas webinar that we've previously run, you can access that and rewatch that. It would be great to know who is on social already, who's pretty confident with it, who is quite new to it, and who sort of hasn't even dared touch it yet. So we'll be going through the resources list. I'm going to go through it pretty quickly, but again, if there's anything that you'd like me to cover again, do let me know. And then I'm going to do some live demonstrations, essentially showing how simple it is to do. I'm going to do 2 different types, and then we'll have times for questions at the end. So my first thoughts, really before you look at the list that I'm going to share, is try not to get too overwhelmed. You don't have to use all of them. You can choose 1 or 2, or if you're happy with not, that's absolutely fine. They're just here to help. But also is not to be too overwhelmed by what other churches are doing online. It's not a competition. It's about just expressing and communicating what you as your church family are doing. But do look at what others are doing. Be inspired, not intimidated. Do what you can. There's no point in stressing out about trying to use Photoshop if actually you're already sort of doing over and above the time of what you've already got to run your church. So do what you can. Get others involved. Use them to help produce content, share ideas, and it's a great way, especially for younger people, to get them involved and feel a bit more invested in the church. Think about consistency. So your brand, you know, do you have key colors, key messages, key audiences that you want to, that you already work towards, and making sure that what you're doing online is consistent. Not that it has to be the same thing all the time, but actually if you're starting to use these tools, really try to keep using them rather than going back to doing clip art on Word or something. Repeat equals defeat. At the same time of consistency, it's not about producing exactly the same thing all the time. Mix up your styles, the types of imagery you're using, because actually there's so much content for just audiences to view on social, that if you're putting the same thing out over and over and over again, you know, it's the same sermon graphic, that actually people will end up just scrolling past it because they've seen it before and they don't want to engage anymore in it. But most importantly, have fun. This is about being social and communicating, connecting with people, whether your church family or audiences that haven't ever met you in your church before. Have fun with it and see these tools and what you can learn with it and to use it in other ways. So first things is content creation and inspiration. So where do I go to find inspiration for what to produce? So the first thing for me is Pinterest. It is it's kind of a scrapbook site. typically they will lead to links for other sites, but most of the time I just kind of use it to just see the types of graphics that are on. So as you can see by the screenshots I've got here, it's a couple of kind of faith-based imagery. You can collate them into themes or certain topics, and you can add in your own photos, graphics, videos. You don't have to put links behind them, but again, it's a great way to pull together ideas, design styles or resources, especially say for Christmas. It's also not just imagery, but actually it's great if you're looking for craft ideas or decorations and stuff. I feel it's probably not the best thing it's a great waste of time in that you can spend hours on there but feel kind of so educated by the end of it. But then social accounts, obviously if you're wanting to come up with ideas for what you want to do on social, is look to see what other churches are doing. It's great to have a quick sneak without getting too obsessive over what the big churches are doing. So I've just shared a couple of screenshots from HTB and Elevation Worship. So they've got some pictures of what it's like at church, and then on Elevation Worship they've got some quotes, and then they had a video there, and you're able to see that actually they're getting high engagement because they're mixing it up. So look at your favorite churches, look at local churches, so how a local church is engaging with your with the community around you. Look, and then go beyond just the church, look at local community groups. So are there other charities or organizations? And then also businesses or brands. So look to see what's trending in terms of social and content creation. Actually, do people really enjoy short snappy videos? We'll create short snappy videos. Do people want more talking head videos? Do maybe some of that, because that's the type of content that people are consuming at the moment. Apps. So I've put in you find things to share out. So actually sharing the something like the Lectio 365, actually that's a great thing to get people engaged with prayer and reflection and devotionals during the week. So I've just listed some there. Then if you're thinking about guides, plans for small groups, sermon series or online sessions, or actually you just want to do a social series of engaging people online, so there's a good list of different things. Open Life Church also has a number of resources available to download for social, so they're really good for just sparking ideas and the types of things that people are wanting to do right now. So creating. Bit of a fun one to start with is Coolers. I think that's how you say it. It is double O. It's a great site to come up with colour palettes. So if you're thinking, oh, let's do something a little bit different for Christmas rather than just red and green, actually it will come up with colour palettes. You have the hex codes. You can change them, you can rejiggle them around, but they're great if you're just sort of wanting to think about actually where are we going with the colours, what's the kind of the imagery that we want to include. And then for me, one of the key tools that I use, and again this is why I say that I'm not a graphic designer, is Canva. It is a graphic design platform that allows users to create social media graphics, presentations, posters, documents, and other visual content. You can see along here, so you've got Facebook ads, presentations, social media worksheets, flyers, videos, so many different types of formats you can do. You can resize, there's templates, there's different file types for download. It's free, there's a free version, and then there's a paid version. And the paid version gives you content planners, you can have teams, you have brand kits, and it allows you to kind of resize to templates that you want. So it's possibly one of the best tools that I found producing content for all of my work, and I would just recommend it to anyone who's wanting to start out or just carry on, because it's great at all levels. Then there's also Crello, which is similar. I've used it occasionally, though I keep coming back to Canva. It's okay. It's not maybe as intuitive as Canva is, but again, it's great. They do a lot more on the social posts, and they've got, again, loads of templates, and there is a free and paid version. Then if you are feeling a bit more adventurous, there is Gravit, which allows you to create vector graphics. So it's good for if you want to do a bit more of drawing or do layered stuff to then use on posters and design stuff, so logos and things like that. Again, there's paid and free version. It is a bit more complicated, but it's great if you're looking to try something out. Visual, I'll just check quickly. Is everyone okay with that? Just Carl, can you do a thumbs up if that all sounds okay? Super. So visual, so one of the most important things for social is about the quality of the images that you use, and it's not you don't want to just grab any image you can find on Google, because actually it's really risky for getting copyrights and various royalty issues and stuff. Unlikely that a church will be targeted, but it's just better to be safe than sorry, and actually there's no need to just find anything on Google. There's so many sites you can use. So a key one that I use is Unsplash. They are phenomenally good free images that compiled from photographers around the world. So that they're real images. There's a couple of Plymouth on there which I quite like seeing. They are often better than any royalty free or stock images that you'll find. You can create collections. So actually, again, if you're thinking about Christmas or Easter, or you just want some nice images for backgrounds or just regular evergreen content, you can use them and have them compiled already in, rather than needing to download them as and when you find them. Pixabay is another good site as well. I find they are possibly not as visually appealing, but they're possibly a bit more specific to certain things, so like hot air balloon, but they are great high quality images again. And the same for Pexels. These tend to have actually a few more videos on them, which are great if you want short sort of GIF or moving graphics images. But again, they are all free to download from. Just register, and some of them as well you can download in different sizes. So if you want really high quality, high resolution images, you can get them on there. Then two that I haven't used as much, there's Lightstock, which is faith specific designs, so that's a sort of good if you're looking for something specific. However, I've not used it as much, and though you can get some free, actually to get, you can't get endless images on it for free. And then iStock, which is the typical go-to for royalty-free images, but actually there's really no need to, because you do have to pay a bit more for it, but it's worth looking on there even if you're just trying to get inspired by images. Then for audio, so now for most social you won't need audio if it's a static image, or if you're producing posters, flyers, or content for your website. And actually for a lot of videos, it's not necessary to have sound, as most people listen without sound. So that's where captions are really important. However, if you are making videos, and especially if it doesn't have spoken audio, it's always worth just having a bit of background music, just in case someone is watching it. If you watch a video without music, it can just sound a bit odd. So Amen Worldwide is a dedicated to highlighting great music for all genres written by followers of Christ. So it is a faith-focused music website. There are some downloads available. However, it's mostly kind of playlists on Spotify and YouTube. So again, great if you're wanting to direct people to listen to music, or you are wanting to create playlists to share to your congregation. YouTube audio library. So you know this music will be safe to use on YouTube. So if you're uploading a sermon or a small video, because it's coming from YouTube, so it is actually on the YouTube site. They're not necessarily always the best, but some are fun, and there's some expected pieces in there. So they're great to use as background music. We've used it for Transforming Plymouth Together, where we've just wanted a little bit just in the background, just to kind of fill the gaps where we're showing video. You access this by not by necessarily by a link, but you go on your YouTube site into Studio, and then it's down on the left hand side at the bottom there, and then you can either play or download. And then a recently new find for me, but is really, really good, is Epidemic Sound. So it's an audio library where you can download music and share within your content on all social platforms. It's a really great selection, and it's really good quality. And you can have various levels of the track. So you can have just instrumental, or you can have instrumental and music. Instrumental and vocals, and there's loads of different genres and moods and albums, and they are really, really good quality. So video editing, I'm guessing that probably a lot of you are fairly aware of what's available with the sudden changes that we've had to make with Sunday services. So obviously you've got the automated, automatically downloaded software on Apple, so iMovie, which is really good. So I'm an Apple user, and I find iMovie really easy to use. And then you've got Windows Movie Maker. So both of them are the automatically downloaded, automatically installed, though I think now actually Windows Movie Maker isn't automatically installed. You do have to download it, but it's free. And they're both really easy and simple to use, and can make really, really good videos. I would say if you're not that confident, stick with them and really learn to use them in detail before you try something new. To be honest, unless you're wanting to go in to do film production, it's really best just to stay with them, because otherwise you spend half of your time just trying to learn new systems and features. As I did with DaVinci Resolve, I downloaded this. It is free, but it is significantly more complex. But if you're interested, it's worth it. And actually it's really fun learning all the different things you can do, but you do spend a lot of time just trying to work out how to do it simply. So if you're doing just a Sunday service, it's typically, would just be easier to do it on the first two I've mentioned. And then there's the Adobe Suite, which actually covers everything. So you've got Photoshop, Premiere, I can't think of all of the other ones. I don't use it. Carl has recently got it, so I'm sure if anyone has any questions, he'd be more than happy to share his experiences with it. So yes, I don't know it very well, but I hear good things about the Creative Cloud. It is a big investment. It is quite costly, but it offers fantastic opportunities for the different things you can do. I would say it's not necessary, but it is worth it if you have a team willing to try it and you have the budget. I think you can do everything on it, but don't feel that you need it to even just produce sort of basic things for the church. Storage, this was actually a last minute thing that I realized that probably is a really important thing if you're suddenly going to be downloading lots of pictures and videos and producing lots of graphics, is how do we store this stuff? Obviously, if you've got it on your computer, that's brilliant, but if you're needing to share it across with a team, or you just can't have everything on your computer, it's really important to think about how you store and how you send. Sorry. There we go. So Google Drive, you can do a number of different things anyway within it. And so if you've got YouTube, it should be fairly easy then to just get a Google account, but you can, you've got Google Drive where you can upload documents into, but then you can use the Sheets or Docs or presentation, which I'm doing this on, to share document spreadsheets, presentations, and actually have multiple people from remotely accessing, which is a really important thing now. So if actually you're creating your content plan or producing ideas for your Christmas campaigns, having people being able to access it simultaneously and edit simultaneously is really important, and really useful, rather than needing to, I create something, share it to you, you've got to share it on, and then I want to go back to it. So you can do the same in Dropbox as well, which is a similar system. They are really useful. WeTransfer is great if you're sending lots of photos or videos. It's free to use. Again, there's a paid version, but it's really simple. You just upload it, put the email address you want to send it to, and then whoever receives it just clicks the link to download. So it's really good, rather than trying to email over kind of a 30-minute sermon. Social media scheduling. Just hang on 1 second, just need to drink. So if you're suddenly now wanting to produce lots more content, it's going to be a lot of effort if you're then going to have to sit there at certain times to make sure you're uploading. So scheduling can be a really useful tool if you're producing content. You're spending a morning producing the content and scheduling it, and then for the rest of the week, other than engaging, because that's really important, scheduling it and knowing it's going to go out when you've told it to is really useful. But at the same time, don't be super strict with your scheduled time. So actually, if you've not been able to get something out in the morning or on a Wednesday morning, it doesn't matter if it's going out Wednesday afternoon, unless it's like a specific event promotion. It's great to keep the general times, but be flexible, because actually it's good to have different times to just reach different people. Check your insights on social media to see when people are most engaging and most on the platforms, because that's great to know when to have content coming up before your audience get on. But as I say, do mix it up, because that's really important as well. Hootsuite is one that is probably one of the most comprehensive, and you have free versions. So here you can see what's behind the scenes of mine. So you're able to see what your feed says, what you've been tweeting, and then you can schedule things. You're able to set if people are mentioning you, or people are, maybe people aren't tagging, but they're saying Southwest Baptist Association, but they're not actually tagging it. You can actually see highlights and follow by that. Makes sense. Buffer is another one. It's really simple and really easy to use. Again, free, though there are both free and paid versions. It is a lot simpler, so it's great for starters. I find sometimes Hootsuite can seem a little intimidating and complex for the first time, but Buffer is great for just getting an idea of how to just plan out content, yeah, you don't have to think about it then. And then you can direct schedule. This is only possible on Facebook at the moment, and it's really important as well to go into that side of Facebook pages to check the analytics. You can publish, you can schedule through it, but if you're using numerous platforms, to be honest, it's easier to use one of the external ones, because you can do it all at the same time. But if you only use Facebook, this is a great way to just do it automatically inside Facebook itself. So now, live demo. I think I'm just going to stop sharing for one moment. Just going to say to Carl, any key questions that are coming out at the moment, just while I prep for the demo?
Brilliant, yeah, please. For the those that are watching this afterwards, this is Carl Smethurst speaking, not some booming voice of God, because you can't see my face. But just to bring a couple of things from the comments box. This is really helpful, guys. If you've not got the chat box open, please do, because it's just so helpful. Just to quickly run through a couple of things that's come up whilst Hannah's been presenting. So Canva Pro, Jude, thank you. Jude is from Upton Vale Baptist Church. You can get Canva Pro for free if you're a charity. Yes. So she's put into the chat box how to do that, but under not-for-profits, if you've got a registered charity number, you can get Canva Pro for free. Frankly, that is worth its weight in gold. So please do look. Question about vector graphics there from Eleanor Moffat, which actually there's been an answer come in from Johnny. Thank you so much, Johnny, who's explaining about vector graphics. Do you want to say anything about vector graphics, Hannah, about what they are?
No, I couldn't actually tell you. I know how to use them, but no, I think Johnny has put a very good explanation. Do you want me to just read it quickly? Vector graphics, where you can put different layers that can be hidden or moved around irrespective of other parts of the graphic. So a photo, e.g. JPEG graphic, is not vector, for instance.
That's brilliant. And just in terms of vector graphics as well, they can be useful if you're using other software. So say, for example, you were creating some form of a graphic that you were then wanting to edit or put into a different poster or graphic in something like Photoshop or Photoshop Elements. If it's a vector graphic, then that's really quite helpful in terms of being able to modify it or change it without losing its detail. As Johnny points out there, a JPEG, if you were to try and pull, as you will have seen, some of you, pull a JPEG to make it big for a different graphic, it will pixelate. And it will start to lose its quality quite quickly. Some software will patch it, but most of the time you end up with a graphic that looks nothing like the one that you want. If it's a vector graphic and there's various files rather than JPEG, things like EPS, for example, different files, then you can pull it and stretch it in all different directions and it won't lose its quality. So there are advantages to vector graphics. Is it the first thing you need to know about graphic design? No. Is it helpful to know that it's there? Yes, because you are going to come across sites that will talk about vector graphics. There's a couple of questions there about Adobe. I'll try and find a link to put in the link, but there's a particular charity which I'm hoping that most of you are aware of, that is for getting hold of charity versions of software called Charity Digital Exchange. And I'll try and find a particular page and drop it into the chat box, which is the Charity Digital Exchange page for Photoshop and for Premiere. But I think I'm right in saying that it is something as cheap as 30 quid. £23 plus VAT for Photoshop and Premiere Elements. Photoshop is picture editing and Premiere Elements is video editing, and that's pretty well kitted out in terms of stuff that you need. Is it necessary, as Hannah said? No, because there's free stuff out there that you can use instead. But I'll put the Elements link in the chat box as well. And just having a little look. I think that's probably all, Hannah. Are you
I'm
happy
good
to go for the demos? Because I think I was keen for Hannah to do some demos, because it's all right having a big long list of things, and you'd be pleased to know that there's all that Hannah's mentioned is in the notes that I'll show you where to get hold of, and you'll be able to watch it back on the recording later on. But seeing how it works, that's actually what I think probably people want. So Hannah is going to share with you actually how a couple, she can't do all of them, but a couple of these things work. While she's talking, she's covered graphic design, she's covered where to find photos, where to find audio, she's covered video editing and photo editing, she's covered online storage and social media scheduling. And she said to me before the webinar, I've hardly scratched the surface. In terms of digital resources out there open to you, it's a huge amount. But what we're interested in is what will be helpful for you. So as she's presenting this, keep asking questions, put stuff in the chat box, and potentially if there's interest, say for example, in social media scheduling, Hannah will do a 45-minute session just on that, or on how to edit videos. We can do a webinar on that. So have a little think whilst Hannah's presenting. Go for it, Hannah.
Okay, so can you all see that okay? So what I'm going to do is just share a brief or quick way of how to create a social media graphic that is sort of an evergreen content. So it doesn't matter when it's going out. It's not time sensitive or specific. And it's good content to engage and fill in throughout the week between your services, any reflections or group work. So I am going to pick a Bible verse and create a graphic for that. This is the Bible app, YouVersion Bible app that I shared, which is the desktop version. So I am going to use word daily verse from the other day. That might not copy completely. For we live by faith and not by sight, 2 Corinthians 5:7. So I've found the verse that I want to do. And I am going to go into Canva. I've created, actually I'll do that I have to go into home. So you've opened Canva and here's what comes up. I've clicked social media. So you've got a square graphic, that's what comes up like this. I've got templates on the side. So I'm gonna have a scroll through and see, well, since it's a quote, I'm essentially doing, so I'm gonna see what templates they've got and see what's good. Let's go with this one. Obviously I'm going to change it, but it's good just as a basis. And I need a background image, so I've just selected this one. I think it's Lego, but it's fun, yellow, bright, it'll attract attention online. So I'm going to upload it quickly. And whilst that uploads, for the main text, going to insert that there. I really don't like this font for this, so I want something bolder. So there's loads of fonts that you can use and choose from, and it's always good to just play around with it and see how it looks, change size. So that's quite nice and clear. So for the background, all you have to do is click. Sometimes it works. And drag. So now that's my background then set. So obviously the white doesn't stand out against the yellow, so I want to change the color. Let's have a look on here. If we go for kind of a blue to contrast, but then do that, and then obviously I need to put the verse there, and let's see if I can spell Corinthians. 5, 7. And I'll do that as the same font. And actually, because I've used it, it comes up at the top. But I don't want it as big as that. So we'll put it down a little bit more. Change the colour again. Now, actually, I find that doesn't quite click visually, because almost it's too thin against the background. So I'm going to make that bold, and actually I think that it might be good to just make the background a little blurry. I know even though you don't want you don't want accidentally blurry images, but sometimes it's okay to make them intentionally blurry. So that'll just that blurs it slightly, brings the focus to there, and if I shrink that down slightly, that will come there. And then if you sort of slowly move it around, it will tell you that you're, if you're in line, if you're within box. And again, I'll do the same for that. So that's now central to that. Make that a little bit bigger. And there's all other sorts of things you can do. So we could make it the line height change. We could make the letter size change. You could change what side it's on. So actually, that's quite a fun, that always looks quite good if you sort of putting it slightly to the side. Central is always good, but just mix it up a bit. So actually, I quite like that a bit more. If you've then got a church logo, so I've got my logos there. I can see some of the ones that you use. So you put the logo, you don't have to, because actually that's not always necessary. If it's coming out from your social posts, you don't want to have your logo on everything. But if you've got kind of a small one that you do want to make sure it's featured a lot, that's always good to do. So I want to download this. So PNG, high quality. Yeah, that's all fine. So download that. And then I will go to scheduling it. So using then Hootsuite, I'll just post it up from mine because it doesn't matter if it goes out. So I will, hang on, sorry, I did that far too fast. So when you log into Hootsuite, you want the create button, which is sort of a pen on paper, and that will pop up. I'd say it's always good if, unless you've got the text already written, it's always good to write it before allocating what sites you want to do, just in case something accidentally happens. So upload my graphic. Load. A great reminder. And you could do something as simple as that. You don't always have to have the whole of the text in there, but something almost that, great reminder, my favourite verses. What do you, I'd love to know what verses you. So one thing on social is as well, it's always good to do stuff that has a call to action, especially if it is evergreen, that prompts a question and gets people engaged. So yeah, I'm happy with that for that. So that's going on my Facebook and my Twitter. So that's fine. Sometimes it's good to change them slightly just so that they don't read exactly identically, but for something like this, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to schedule that to come out at middle of the afternoon to catch people as they're on their mid-afternoon coffee break, or that it's there ready for them in the feed when they are doing post-work after work. So that's scheduled. And there it is, and that's scheduled and ready to go. So it's something as simple as that is just a great reminder of people to check out your social. It's you know, a good way to engage people, to think about what Bible verses they like, and encouraging or challenging, or if you're doing a certain Bible study or series, it's always good to do that. I'm just wondering, Carl, have we got time for the longer one, or is it best to do Christmas? Have we got time to do the Christmas longer one, or should we best focus on questions?
Let me just have a look. In terms of the actual questions that are in the box, I think most of them are being answered. I think probably just having examples of how it works would be really helpful. Yeah. I know what I'm going to do is go back and watch this back and then keep pressing pause on the recording, because obviously to you this is second nature. To most of us this is going to be a learning process, but if you've got an example that we can actually go back and look at, and we can keep pressing pause whilst we try it ourselves, and probably that's a really great way to learn. So yeah, we will have hopefully a little bit of time for questions, folks. So if you want to write questions in the chat box, please do. Those that we can answer whilst we're going on, we will, but we will ask some questions at the end. I'm just keen that Hannah keeps going. I think
that's fine. Right, so I'll do one that's more of kind of a poster, or how you create something that then can be used across multiple formats then. So I'll just get rid of that and that. So thinking about Christmas campaign, whether this is a sermon series or you're thinking about what who knows what's going to happen with services and stuff, but I'm thinking about what I'm going to create for Christmas. So I did pull together a few ideas on Pinterest, purely just so that I wasn't sat scrolling during this webinar. So for me, I was thinking Star of Wonder, Light of the World, and I'm just going to grab my notes quickly so I remember Star of Wonder, Light of the World. So I really like this kind of dark with some sort of the white, creams or yellow, goldy colour sort of contrast, because as I say, you know, sometimes it's nice to not always have the red and green and just do something a little bit different. So kind of that's what I'm thinking I'm going to go for. I've pulled together a couple of, I've made a collection on Unsplash just to create searching various things. So star, Christmas star, nativity, sky, just a couple of things to get some ideas of graphics that I can do. So I've just selected a poster on Canva, and we can have a look at some templates. Trying to find something. Let's have a look on event poster. It's something that will. Okay, we'll do that one then. So, I have pre-downloaded 2 images already, and I will just upload them into Canva. That one again. So what I'm going to do is, so sometimes Canva will group stuff if you pick a template. So you can see there, if I'm moving it, everything's moving. I don't want that. For this, sometimes it's useful. So I'm going to ungroup that so I can move things out the way. What's sometimes useful on Canva as well is to duplicate the page so that you've got the template there. And so if you have to copy anything over, so I'm going to delete that top one, but I'm going to pull that bottom one down. And so I'm going to be very obvious with all of this. I'm just going to call it Light of the World. A Christmas series with, I'm going to pretend, and I'm, there we go. So actually, I don't like that dark one necessarily as much. I'm going to put that one in because I think that's quite good. I'm going to pull that up a bit. And then, okay, those are grouped, that's fine. I'm going to say starting on the, let's go 21st of November, online, and then find out more at astrologyva.com. I think that's the URL. I should put Facebook and YouTube. So because this is we've used a template, that's the colors are slightly off with that. So you can see where it's changed the brightness and contrast and various things. We can do reset that. So that then brings it up to what the original photo looks like. However, obviously then you've got the, now we can't see these bottom words. So what we can do is lift that up a bit just by double clicking it. And actually I want to pull it out a bit so that it's going up. I'm going to pull that down, and what I'm going to do is actually make that darker. Now, one of the brilliant things with Pro for Canva is that actually it will pick out colors in the photo. So again, of thinking about coolers and having things so that it kind of works together cohesively. So actually it could be quite good to use the for text, to use the colors that are already in the image, just help to bring it together. And how's that look? Oh, that doesn't quite work. So what I might do is go to elements and find a square, and I'm just going to bring this down to the bottom. Now it doesn't make it look as good, but unfortunately with everything that I've written, swab, not SWBA. There we go. And actually I'm going to ungroup that because they're too far apart. We want to make this now the orange as well. Actually we might make that even lighter because it's too orange. That I'm going to make that the dark. There we go. So there you go. I've got my basic graphic, just showing, and we could change the text if the font if we wanted to, but I'm happy enough with this for the moment. And so I've got that. Okay, I don't need this, the backup page, so I'm going to delete that. So that's then the core of my Christmas campaign. So right, so that's a poster then. So actually what I want to do is I want to create a flyer. No, I want to create a social graphic. So you go to resize, and you can either choose custom sizes, or you can they will recommend one. So actually we want an Instagram. So all you have to do is click it and press copy and resize. And it's created like that. So the resizing, it won't make it perfect, but it means I'm not copying and recreating everything. So what I want to do is actually I'm going to take that off, take that off, take that off. I'm going to align that slightly there. Another thing then, okay, because this is a sort of Instagram post, actually we don't want too much text on it, because that's not what people go on Instagram for. But I'm going to move the text up on the other side, and I'm going to make it, I'm just going to make that a little bit bigger. There we go. So that we're really focusing in on the start, light of the world. And actually now without the other colour, I think that would be better changing it to the orange. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And maybe at that then we'd put the logo down the bottom just to make it stand out. And then all of the information, so when it's starting, not links if it's going on Instagram, but all the information for it, then you put in the text bit. And again, the same with the, if you're putting it on Facebook, you could have sort of when it's starting on it, but actually you don't want too much information for a graphic for that then necessarily, because that's not why people are doing it. And actually it'd be more useful to have a link in the text part of the post rather than in the graphic then. I'm just conscious of not taking up too much time with it. Has that been useful, Carl, or do you want me to go in a bit further?
I think that's great. If we can ask a few questions, then that'll take us nicely up to 12, and then we'll finish kind of at the times that we said that we would for folks, yeah. Which is great. So let me just see if we can spotlight us both together. Folks, that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour through some of this stuff, but hopefully that's been helpful to you. And like I say, I'm fairly sure that you'll be kind of watching this video back and pressing pause and trying things and what have you. But it'd be good to ask some questions, or just to go over a couple of things that's come up, Hannah, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So if you do have questions, then let us know. I'm also about to, in a couple of minutes, drop into the box where you can go to find the notes from this session. So please hang around and get that URL so you can download the notes from this session as well in a few minutes. Hannah, now obviously there is a number of places, back to kind of where to post stuff. Mm-hmm. We've mentioned, and you've mentioned YouTube. There are a number of places that you can share videos. Thinking particularly about sermons is a question that's come in from Johnny. What are your thoughts on sharing particularly sermon videos on YouTube? Are there other platforms? What works well for you? Or what do you think works well for people that are engaging with them?
Do you mean sharing a video in a sermon, or sharing the sermon, the video of the sermon?
I think the video of the sermon.
Right. Video of the sermon. And to be honest, it's best to put it across as many platforms as possible, really. It's, you know, you don't want to think that everyone's on Facebook or everyone's on YouTube. Obviously, it depends on what your systems and resources are. So for my church, we're actually just, with the equipment that we've got, we're only able to live stream onto one platform at the moment. And we really don't want to have the stress of doing multiple platform streaming. So we're doing it straight onto YouTube, because YouTube is the most accessible for people. Whereas if we put it all on Facebook, you've got to have a Facebook page to watch it. However, once the sermon's finished, I download it from YouTube and then upload it as as an independent video, because actually the platforms will prefer it if you keep people in their platform. So Facebook wouldn't really like it if I kept saying, oh, go to YouTube to watch it, go to YouTube to watch it. Obviously we say go to YouTube to watch it live, but then we make sure that we're uploading it to Facebook later on. You know, if you've got audiences that are using Vimeo or trying to think, they're probably kind of the key ones really, that's absolutely fine. I think there's nothing wrong, especially if you're able to upload them later on, but I wouldn't stress about trying to do it all live all at the same time. I think people understand that we you know, we're not the BBC, we can't do everything at once.
That's brilliant, thank you. And it's just worth noting, of course, that it may depend on audience. So if you're putting your sermon out and you want younger generation people watching it, then YouTube seems the ideal place to put it. You might even want to use Instagram. And bearing in mind, if you just put it on your Instagram feed, then it'll show 1 minute is the maximum. So you might even want to think about a little bit of a hook, so that you can get a taste of your sermon, and then people can go and watch it elsewhere if they want to, bearing in mind what Hannah's just said. I think on Twitter it's 2 minutes worth of video before it cuts you off.
Yeah,
right,
so
Hannah?
it's good. And as well, just thinking as well, Instagram's typically done on a mobile device. I don't really want to watch a 45 an hour long sermon just on my mobile necessarily, unless it's something I'm just listening to. So actually it's good to have clips on there to grab people's attention, but then think about how your audience are going to consume it. There's just been 2 comments saying you can access Facebook live streams even if you don't have a Facebook account. Yes, you can. However, thinking slightly about our congregation and age and ability, actually it's sometimes a little bit clunky to direct people to it, and if they've not got the right if they've not got the experience of how to navigate around Facebook, or actually they're just not comfortable with it. Whereas if you're sending a YouTube link, actually it's just a bit easier, or if people have kind of smart TVs, they can watch it on YouTube easy enough from that. So yes, you can watch Facebook without an account. It just made more sense for us to do it straight to YouTube for the live, because I felt that was better fitted to where our audience were comfortable.
There's people pointing out that people can access videos on Facebook without needing a Facebook account. So Facebook's not a bad medium to use as well. Bear in mind what else you get with these things. So obviously, if you've not watched Netflix, what's the film? The digital
Social Dilemma.
Social Dilemma, that's the one. Then you feel free to go and watch that if you want to. They're selling you stuff. So ultimately, if you put your sermon on YouTube or Facebook, it will be surrounded by adverts, and probably have a pile of links to various other videos they want you to watch afterwards that you may or may not approve of. So that is always a risk with some of those things. Vimeo, there's a free account on Vimeo and there's a pay for account as well. Vimeo's a little bit safer in terms of the surrounding adverts, particularly if you use the pay account for it. And if you want people to download the sermon, then it's really easy to do that from Vimeo if you've got a pay for Vimeo account. One other thing, different webinar this, but if you're putting sermons out there and you're wanting people other than those in your church who are kind-hearted and generous enough to listen to your 25-minute sermon stood at a lectern, then bear in mind that your average viewer of YouTube will watch something for about the time of a TED Talk maximum, which is 10 to 12 minutes. And it's going to need to be pretty punchy and engaging. So people are very forgiving of us in churches, but on the internet, they're less so. So they won't tell you it's rubbish. Hopefully in church they don't tell you it's rubbish, but on the internet they'll just not watch it and they'll click on.
Yeah.
So actually, in terms of what you say, how you say it, where you say it, for how long you say it, all of those things are really important if you're putting stuff online and you want people that aren't already part of your church to watch them. In terms of exempted charities, sorry, it's accepted charities. Thank you, Chris, that you need to register. I'm pretty sure you can register as an accepted charity for some of these sites that we've mentioned. So Charity Digital Exchange being the one that particularly that question was about. Not so sure about Canva. And
there is a Chris asked a question on Canva. Is it best to start with a template or blank sheet? Up to you, to be honest. I partly just find the templates useful because they're fairly well designed, so they're great to start with, and I do enjoy playing around with them. Sometimes a blank sheet can be a little challenging to be creative with, but if you found another design style or sort of a layout kind of that you like the gist of, and so you know what you're going to do, a blank sheet's absolutely fine. But I just quite like they're there. Why not use them? And typically my stuff will end up looking very different, but it's just a great place to kind of give you a bit of an idea of where to start.
That's really helpful. Thank you very much. And there's someone there, Jude Upton Vale, is cheering you on. So just to mention, if you're from Southwest Baptist Association Church, then the association will pay for an hour's worth of consultation for Hannah. So it won't cost your church anything. So if you want to get in contact with Hannah and just say, right, this is where we're at with all of this stuff. What do you think? Or if there's something particularly, can you take a look at our website and see how we can improve it? Can you take a look at our Facebook account and tell us what we can simply do to make it more engaging with people that are not yet Christians? Those type of comments and questions could be up to an hour's worth that you won't pay for. If there's work that needs to be done that Hannah does for you, then there's also a digital mission grants program that we have in the Southwest Baptist Association, that if you're an association church, you are welcome to be a part of. So please do look at, and that's on the same page that you'll download your notes from this webinar on. There's a few more questions coming in here. Someone's talking about Publisher. Publisher's great from Office. Bear in mind, you can't get Publisher very easily if you use a Mac, because Mac have got different bits of software instead of Publisher that they think are as good, if not better. Whether you think they're right or not is entirely up to you. But Publisher for Windows is great, for sure. I've used it plenty in the past. Jeff Williams, what is the additional charging rates? Is that with reference, Jeff, if you can put in the chat box again what that is with reference to? Is that with reference to a particular bit of online platform? Difficult to know. There we go. Oh, consultation time. The consultation time for Hannah, well, get in contact with her and she'll tell you her rates rather than online just here, but very reasonable. And if you're an SWBA church, the association grant will pay up to half of her costs, so long as that's no more than an association grant of 500 quid. So in other words, probably for most things that you're going to need to do as single pieces of work, that will be a great help to you if you're an SWBA church. If you're not, of course, Hannah is still available to you.
Yeah.
You won't be able to. She works internationally, but you won't be able to get access to the grants unless your association has a small grants program for mission. Obviously, what we're talking about here is digital mission. And Hannah would love to be involved in helping you engage with those who are not yet of faith using the digital platforms that she's spoken of. Just before I kind of move on to round us up, because we're over time, it would just be really helpful if there are particular areas that have pinged at you today that you think I could do with a little bit more information about that. Another webinar would be helpful on things like video editing or photo editing or social media scheduling, or can you just put that in the chat box for me now? That would be really helpful. So we've got a little bit of a flavour of, we're planning on doing a digital mission webinar, one a month. And so it would just be really helpful to have a little bit of an idea of what would serve you best. We don't want to put out there things that aren't going to be helpful. Today there's been about 50 or so people in the room, and obviously we've tried to cover a lot of material. If we have specialist webinars, we might have less people in the room, but we can probably have a little bit more chat with less people, so it's more conversational, and that would be good. It's really helpful. There's a couple of people that are talking video editing, and that's good. some basic principles of video editing that are dead easy to talk about and to learn about using pretty basic equipment. Filming as well as editing. Setting up for live streaming, Brill, yeah, we can chat about things like that. Advice from setting up from scratch, Alan, quite fine. So my advice, if you're an SWBA church particularly, then get in contact with Hannah and have that chat with her. But particularly, I think, if it's in the area of engaging with people who are not yet of faith. This is not to say that we're not valuing being able to live stream our Sunday services to our own people, but it's how we're going to engage those who are not yet of faith particularly. That is getting us out of bed in the morning, I think. Hannah, thank you so much. That was incredibly helpful. I've just put in the chat box there the URL to go and get your resources. So if you click on that before you leave this room, then you'll be able to download the notes from today. And it's also worth pointing out that on that page, there are contact details for Hannah. There's details about the digital mission grants in the Southwest. And there's also a digital mission survey, which takes 2 minutes to complete on that page. If you've not already, I would really appreciate you filling that in, because that's one of the ways we're being steered by you to provide you with things you actually want, rather than things that we think you want. So we want to serve you, and to do that, we need to hear what's helpful. So if you're able to also just spend 2 minutes filling in a digital mission survey on that web page, that too would be very useful. If you want to look at the digital Christmas webinar, those of you that weren't at it, then that's available too. And into the chat box now is going the URLs that you need for that. I hope, let me put them in. So that if you would like to take a little look at that webinar, then you can do that. And I think we are coming into land. Guys, we'll be around for a couple more minutes. Go on, Hannah.
Can I just quickly, in the link that Carl sent with the useful resources, there is a handout that I've created for today, and then there's the same again for the digital Christmas one. On the PDF, they are clickable. Where I've listed them, there are some most of them have got links to the sites themselves. There are two, Canva and Academic Sounds, that I have to just say I've put in kind of affiliate links. That means nothing really to you other than I get a kind of a little not even a bonus, but I get a kind of a reward for referring people to these sites. So if you do decide that you'd like to go with them, if you could just do it via the link, or even if you're just searching for them, if you do it through clicking the link rather than just Google searching, it's just really, it doesn't affect anything from your end. It just lets them know that that you found it because of me, and that I might, depending on how you end up signing up, I get kind of a little reward for it.
Thank you, Hannah. I'm sure everyone has been grateful to Hannah, and hopefully you'll be back again to another webinar that she'll be leading in the not too distant future. There you go. Yes. Into the chat box there is some info about where to get the digital Christmas webinar, and also the big community carol sing, which is one of the things that we were promoting in that webinar. It's got its own website now, so you can have a little look at that, which will continue to be more content added in the next couple of weeks. Before we all head off, I'd love to pray for us. Is that all right? So let's pray. God, I thank you for the huge opportunities that the good news that you bring, we can share it in ways that we've never really thought of before. Well, thank you for those like Hannah who live in the real world, and as part of that real world, so is this digital element. Lord, I pray, God, that there's a growing sense of awareness for us as followers of you, Jesus, that we can share our faith in so many different ways as individuals and as churches with people who are not yet followers of you. Our heart, God, is to see hope injected across this planet through every which means. And we recognize the only place we can go for real hope is to you. So Lord, at this time particularly, but also on into the future, may we be bearers of good news, those whose voice, whether that is written on Facebook or face-to-face in the street, Our voice is one of hope and of life, and something that offers more to people in their lives. Father, we know that you are in the business of transforming people. So Lord, help us to be those that recognize your call to us to be part of your mission in this world. My blessing, Lord, your blessing on my brothers and sisters. Lord, may they know all goodness this day as we go our separate ways now. Amen.